Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today I have two quick civil infraction hearings, including a case with a man who seems to have demanded every judge in Allegan County recuse themselves, as well as a case with an irate man who claims that the cop who gave him a ticket, as well as the person who called in to report his erratic driving, is lying about him. He admits he wasn't nice to the officer, but claims he was irritated because she should never have pulled him over to begin with. Let's see what the judge thinks.
Where's my...
All right, so we are here on this citation. It was issued on October 25th of this year on 124th Avenue there, City of Fenville, Allegan County, State of Michigan. It's a civil infraction for failure to yield right away involving an accident. Mr. Jones, you're here on this citation to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation, or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation as to how or why this happened. Or three, you wish to contest this citation. In other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
I'm looking to contest the citation, Your Honor.
All right. Then the first thing I'm going to do is swear all three of you in. Anyone who might be testifying, if you raise your right hand. Swear or affirm any testimony that you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Jones, it makes a lot more sense to me to start with the deputies. They have the burden to establish to me why you were issued a citation in the first place. But after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions or testify in your own behalf. All right?
Your Honor, could I address the court real quick here?
Yes?
You are going to be the decision maker today, correct?
Correct.
I would, I know I have a history in Allegan County. I recently had, every judge in Allegan County disqualified from hearing my cases.
Mr. Jones, I am familiar with who you are.
I would request at this time that an out-of-county judge be appointed to conduct this informal hearing, as I know for a fact you and I have filed civil litigation involving you. In the past, I fear that there's an appearance, at the very least, an appearance of impropriety or judicial bias. And I would ask that you remove yourself when we reschedule this, and then you ask Scale to appoint an out-of-county judge to hear this matter.
Here's what I would say to that. One is, I do think that your argument has a merit there, but I suspect it's when it involves a possible incarceration, in other words, a criminal case. This is a civil case, meaning the worst thing that can happen to you here is a fine. So I don't think it has the same strength of argument that you would be requesting a different judge. I will tell you this is informal hearing. You don't have to have informal hearing. You can go to what's called formal hearing, and then you would have the option of the district court judges. I don't know if you're familiar with both of them, Judge Bellargent, Judge Scotchless. Would you have the same issue with both of them?
Both of them, I filed civil litigation. Both of them have recused themselves from my previous cases. And Your Honor, I would say that even though incarceration is not a potential outcome of this matter, I have a Class A CDL. That's how I make my money. That's my livelihood. And this citation would affect my ability to obtain and maintain my employment. And I mean, you're talking, that's a $90,000 a year hit. I'm just not willing to risk that. You know, when there's any kind of appearance of, potential.
Put it this way, Mr. Jones, I'm not going to have us go forward today with the informal hearing, because there is, at least at this point, I don't know whether or not you would have the same right to request a recusal on civil as there is criminal. But I don't see real point in us going forward with an informal hearing if you, in fact, do have a right to request that. Because I think that should at least be decided upon. So what I will do is essentially what I would suggest we do is set this for formal hearing in front of the chief judge of district court, which is at this point in time Judge Scotchless, and essentially you would make the same sort of argument, and we'll let him have a rule of whether or not it would really need to go all the way to out a county judge. I suspect, as I suspect happens a lot with Judge Scotchless, that he usually says that, you know, he doesn't have a reason to recuse himself because he considers it to be that, you know, he certainly wouldn't have a prejudice on this. But I think we'll at least let him have the decision on that. So if you agree with that, we won't proceed today, and I will just set this in front of him. And then before you would proceed, you'd make that same argument, and I'll give him a heads up so he'd be able to look into whether or not you have the same rights to request a change of judge on civil. I just, to be quite honest with you, not sure what the answer to that is. I'm gonna have to look it up myself. But if that's amenable to you, then that's how we'll proceed at this time.
It is, but it isn't. I mean, I object to the fact that I'm going to have to forego my informal hearing to be heard by a judge who has had no.
I think it would be also possible for that judge to rule that you would in fact be able to have an informal hearing first, but simply in front of the appropriate judge, whether we decide it could be anybody here on district court or not. I understand what you're saying. You know, essentially you'd be missing one free bite at the apple. So let's just put this on hold, and I will articulate the argument for Chief Judge and see what he thinks. All right?
Thank you. Could I put one more objection on the record? I see that there is a male officer about to testify or was about to testify. I was told by several people that this would be a formal hearing or an informal hearing between myself, a magistrate, and the officer who wrote the ticket. I would like to know why this other officer gets to put his input. I haven't seen anything he's written. I'm just going to object to that.
I'm assuming that might be the training officer, so they were probably both in the car that night.
So the officer who wrote the ticket is still in training?
I don't know, but Deputy Haskell, were you present that evening?
I was.
I don't even know if it was evening. I don't know what it was. But you were present for this?
I was, Your Honor. I was her trainer.
All right. So he could testify as a witness.
Okay. Then why didn't he write the ticket, I guess would be my question. I mean, I just want to get this on the record. Why didn't he write the ticket?
We're sort of opening up the hearing, which is what we weren't going to do. So.
All right. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and release you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so this is a citation. It was issued back on December 21st of last year on M89, Allegan Township, Allegan County, State of Michigan. It's a civil infraction for improper lane use. Mr. Lackey, you are here on this citation to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation, or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation as to how or why this happened. Or three, you wish to contest this citation, in other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
I'm going to fight the citation.
All right. Then even though I cannot see you, I'd ask for you to raise your right hand the same way the deputy is going to raise her right hand. You swear or affirm that any testimony given here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I do.
All right, Mr. Lackey, it makes a lot more sense for me to start with the deputy. She has the burden to establish to me why you were issued a citation in the first place. But after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions and or testify on your own behalf, all right?
All right.
And with that, deputy, you want to start somewhere that makes sense and explain the issuing of this citation?
Yes. On the date 12/21 of 2023, around 10:50 p.m., there was a BOL call that was dispatched for a blue vehicle, blue Nissan, on the road, or this was stopped. It was on M89, and the caller was following behind the suspect vehicle. Reports that it was driving erratically. I located the vehicle and positioned my patrol vehicle behind it and observed the vehicle for a while, and then observed that it did cross the center line, and then performed a traffic stop and made contact with the driver. He's identified as Mr. Ezekiel Lackey. I provided him a citation for improper lane use.
All right. And then, Mr. Lackey, what is it you'd like to tell me?
That's not true. It all started, I was coming from work, and I was driving behind the car, and they were going real slow, and I got behind them. So I stayed behind them for a little while, and they just kept going really slow. Like they would slow down, go even slower. There was no cars out on the road. There was nobody out there but me in that car. So I got in the other lane, I jumped in front of them, and I kept going. I was doing 55 miles an hour. So the car behind me started speeding up real fast. I cut my cruise control on, and I stayed at 55 miles an hour. At that time, they kept giving up behind me, throwing their brighters on and off. So I took the mirrors from the outside, and I just pushed them out with the button inside the car so that the light wouldn't blind me from the back. At that time, I say about a good half a mile or two up the road, then she comes up behind me. She's behind me for like about a few seconds. She wasn't behind me a long time because I can see her through the mirror in the car. So I adjusted my mirrors on the outside. So I see her behind me, so I adjust my mirrors on the outside. So a few minutes later, she pulls me over, and she comes to the right side of the car. She goes, "We've got several calls about you driving erratically." And I told her up front, that's a lie. Wasn't no cars out there on the road, and I wasn't driving erratically. The car behind me was road raging. So she kept continually saying, "Well, we got several calls." And I said, "You a lie. There was no cars out there with me in this car." So then she got irritated. So she walked over to the driver's side. And she says, "Well, I just want to make sure you're okay. I want to look at your eyes and this and that. You had anything to drink tonight?" And I said, "No, I'm just getting off of work. I had nothing to drink. I don't even drink like that." And she said, "Well, I just want to look at your eyes, and I just want to see if you had anything to drink." So I opened my mouth, and I blew my breath in the face like, "Ah." I said, "Do you smell any alcohol coming from this car?" I said, "Do you smell any marijuana coming from this car?" He said, "Sir, I just want to look at your eyes." So I took my glasses off, and I let her look at my eyes. And she goes, "No." She said, I want you to step out the car so I can look at your eyes clearly." I said, "You can see my eyes clearly right here. Why don't you step out the car?" She said, "Well, I don't want to just look at your eyes so I can see how your eyes are looking." So after a few minutes, I said, "Okay, let me get out the car." Put my glasses on the seat. I got out the car. She's still right there. She said, "We can stand right here. We can walk to the back of the car." She was trying to do a field sobriety test. And I'm like, "I'm not going to do a field sobriety test." And she's like, "Well, all I want to do is just look at your eyes, and I'll get you on your way." Then after a few minutes, she said, "Well, I did see you cross the center line." I said, "No, you didn't see me cross the center line. You didn't see me cross the center line, because if you see me cross the center line, you would have been pulled me over." She was behind me for a few minutes. It wasn't a few seconds. It was a few minutes she was behind me. So I'm sitting back. I'm doing I let her look at my eyes, and she's saying, "Follow the pen back and forth." So she was shining the light. So she was doing basically a partial field sobriety test, and she kept saying, "Follow the pen." I'm looking. I'm doing all that she's asking me to do. But at that moment, at the time, I was irritated from when she pulled me over, because there was no need for her to pull me over. I don't call any. So I put the question to her and a lot of other questions to her. And like I said, I wasn't nice. I was real irritated because I had no need to get pulled over. And I said, "Well, if anybody tires touch this yellow line or the white line, they're drunk or they're high." She said, "That's not what I'm saying." I said, "Well, that's what you're doing." She kept on trying to push that I had something to drink or something. She couldn't get that out of her mind. So she didn't like my attitude towards her, because my attitude was really rough towards her, because I know I didn't do anything wrong. If I had any tickets throughout my life, if I did it, I paid a ticket and I moved on. But I know I didn't cross the center line. I didn't do any of that. And she just kept on going. So after I passed it, she got done with that, she took a deep breath, said, she put her flashlight back on her belt. Then she says, and I said, can I go now? Am I free to go?" And she's like, "Yeah, you can go back to your car, but I'm going to give you a citation."
Okay.
And that's what happened.
But sir, even given everything that you told me, here's the issue. What you have a citation for is crossing the center line. Deputies testified that she witnessed you cross center line. You're just telling me it didn't happen. So I mean, I understand all the other stuff you said. Essentially, she got be on the lookout call. That's why she's running you through, just to make sure that you're, not driving under the influence, but you don't have a ticket for that. What you have a ticket for is what she told you on the side of the road she witnessed you do.
But she didn't witness me do it because she took the call. She said, I got a call that you were driving. I got calls that you were driving erratically. That's the initial purpose of her stop for me was. She said she got a call. So she didn't see me driving erratically because I knew I didn't cross that.
All right. So listen to me, sir. This is how it works. She could get a BOL all she wants, but she really shouldn't be pulling you over for that because she didn't witness it. Once she sees her own traffic violation, i.e. what she testified to, that you crossed center line, then she can pull you over because that's a traffic violation. And then she initiates an investigation, probably more based on the BOL than on your violation of crossing the center line once. But she did that, didn't come to any sort of fruition, but she still gave you a citation for crossing the center line. Essentially, what I have to decide is whether or not you crossed the center line. You're saying you didn't, she's saying you did, but I don't really find what you're getting at, that somehow the rest of what happened here shows that you didn't really cross the center line. I would find at this point in time, that given the evidence that was presented, that you did in fact cross the center line. Now, she doesn't have to write you a ticket for that. I agree with you that that's probably maybe largely about how you handled yourself when you got pulled over. But essentially, if you're saying that she just said this because she really wanted to see whether or not you were drinking and driving, you even said yourself that she mentioned it during the stop. That's why she pulled you over, right?
No, she initially pulled me over because she said, I got a call. That's the initial pull over. Then
yeah, but then you said that she told you during the, in other words, it's not the first time you're hearing it now that you crossed center line. She told you that during your communications with her on the side of the road, right?
After the fact, she talked to me. I never crossed the center line. I see her driving behind me. I'm not crossing the center line. They don't need to cross the center line. Her initial stop was because she said she got several phone calls, which was a lie. That was number one, because there wasn't nobody else on the road but me in that car. And she initially pulled me over just for that.
So,
period.
Mr. Lackey, I want you to make sure you understand what your rights are here. I would find you responsible on this citation as written. I would find this more probable that it happened. Yeah. So because you had a contested hearing, you do have the right to say, I don't agree with that. I want you to go to formal hearing in front of the district court judges with the prosecutor's office. To do that, you must do two things. One is you must ask for that within 7 days of today's date. Your window of opportunity to ask for formal hearing closes. And two, you must come in and ask for that formally in writing because you would need to post a bond in the amount of the ticket. Do you understand your rights on appeal?
Yeah, I understand it.
All right, then we're all set for what we needed to do here, sir. I'm going to go ahead and release you.
So what needs to happen now?
Either you would accept my finding and make arrangements to pay that fines and costs, or you would go through the process to take this appeal further to formal hearing, like I just explained.
Well, this is how I'm seeing it. If you're just going to take her word like it's like it's gold, then there's no sense of doing all this other stupidity. I really don't have time for this. She's lying, and I know she's lying, and she knows she's lying.
But you're all set. I'm going to go ahead and release you. All right. Thank you.